So we're gonna record the first part of this meeting for other interested mentors who will not be able to make it. But so thank you everyone for attending our mentor interest meeting. So just as a quick background, this is going to be our third year hosting a mentorship program through SIDHI. So for today, we'll go through a brief background of what SIDHI is and describe what a SIDHI mentorship entails, as well as a program overview. We'll also have two previous mentors, Kuya Jonas and Ate Jayan, share their experiences from last year. And most of the session will be a Q&A, so you can ask as many questions as you would like about the mentorship program and your role as a potential mentor. Yeah, so as Ate Florence mentioned earlier, SIDHI, or Science Integrated Direction for High School Investigators, was started by a group of high school students who recognized a need for STEM mentorship. So the main program is the mentorship program that fosters personal and professional mentor relationships between Pinoy scientists all over the world and Filipino high school students. And currently, we are a growing network and community of Filipino STEM professionals around the world. So on top of our SIDHI mentorship program, we also try to host community events where both mentors and mentees are able to interact with each other in a more informal setting. So that's something we're constantly working on, and hopefully this year we'll be able to get to know each other more and continue to build this Pinoy scientist community around the world. Okay, so what is a SIDHI mentorship? So since the recent K-12 implementation a few years ago by DepEd, senior high school students in the Philippines have been required to take research courses in their 11th and 12th grades, I believe. Sometimes younger high school students are also able to do research projects. And sometimes we have mentees who are interested in pursuing research projects individually, not with their school. And so these are just the types of students that we accept into our program. So the mentorship is a facilitated year-long. We typically follow the normal school year-long mentorship program between Filipino scientists and high school students in the Philippines, anchored on mentee science research projects as required or not required by their schools. And mentors advise and encourage their mentees throughout the research process. The goal is to build essential skills in mentees as they pursue their research projects by connecting them with encouraging and experienced STEM professionals. So the mentee guides their mentee or mentees as they implement projects. The mentor initiates forming a personal friendship with mentees and shares opportunities, like specifically research opportunities for mentees. So we have Facebook groups within SIDHI where we constantly share opportunities locally and internationally for mentees to work on the research projects or to join workshops that can help build their technical skills. Mentees are accountable for their own projects. They are respectful to the mentor's time and effort, and they are proactive and ready during mentoring sessions. And then on this side, I also wanted to add that so mentors are assigned one-to-one to a project. And what that means is sometimes projects can be done individually by a mentee or by groups. So most of the mentees that we have are actually working in groups, typically groups of 3. And so when you're assigned to a project, this might mean that you're also working with more than one mentee. Okay, so this lists mentor responsibilities. So again, your goal is to mentor one project for the duration of the school year. You are expected to set project goals and expectations with the mentee, and you spend 1 to 2 hours per week interacting with the mentee. And most of the time, the meetings, if not all, the meetings are held virtually with your mentees. You're also expected to document goals and outcomes of regular interactions with mentees and engage in community activities and events that will help improve skills as mentors. Mentors also help us complete mid and end of school year feedback forms. And some benefits of being a mentor. So this can help improve your communication and personal skills, especially critical thinking and guiding research, if that's also what you're interested in later on. You're also able to form friendships with mentees and other mentors. You can enhance your CV and resumes by adding this as technical experience. And you can get a LinkedIn recommendation at the end of the mentorship program. And here's a link to our LinkedIn page, and have a sense of fulfillment in helping aspiring young high school students reach their scientific goals. And then, so we have, I think the previous slide is mentee responsibilities. So mentees are expected to set project goals and expectations with their mentors for accountability. We encourage mentees to lead the discussions with their mentors, so they're expected to prepare questions and other things they'd like to consult with. And they're also encouraged to create and adhere to a project timeline for the school year with their mentor. And then next we have our mentorship overview. So at the end of this meeting, we'll be opening the mentor application. So mentors will apply to become, potential mentors will apply to become a mentor through the Google form that we will share. And they're selected based on experience and interest level. And then we screen for projects of mentees. So applicants, I think we changed this actually. So mentees do not need to have a predetermined research plan. Sometimes we accept mentees who are not certain of their project yet, and we, or the mentors, help them choose their project as the school year progresses. And then the next step would be matching mentors and mentees. So we tend to match based on the mentor's field of expertise and the mentee's potential project. And we also host community events throughout the school year, as well as 2 virtual conferences, one for mentors and one for mentees. And here are some of the mentorship program outcomes. So we plan still, I think, to collect brief project summaries at the end of the school year if the schools allow mentees to share their work outside of school. And the SIDHI virtual conferences. So last week we ended our virtual science fair where mentees were able to share their research projects that they've been working on throughout the school year. I think last year we also had another conference. It was called Skills Quest, I believe, where mentors were able to share some of their skills, and it ended up being more of a workshop where mentees attended and they learned research skills like paper writing or citing references, literature reviews, things like that. And hopefully at the end of the school year, mentees would have achieved their project outcomes. And we highly encourage mentees to participate in science fairs, as well as developing the essential skills necessary to conduct research. All right, some mentorship do's and don'ts. So a SIDHI mentor is a professional who inspires and engages SIDHI mentees, shares relevant STEM experiences and knowledge, guides and holds mentees accountable for their own project aims and outputs, and encourages open-mindedness, curiosity, and resilience in mentees. Mentors also instill confidence, leadership, and technical skills in mentees. And some mentor don'ts. So mentors don't fix mentees' personal problems or approach mentees. They don't take over research project continuation or boss around mentees. I think a key here is that remember that we're here to guide and assist the mentees. It's mostly up to the mentees to drive the project forward. And if they need a little push in continuing with their research goals, that's what the mentors are there for. Mentors don't acquire project outputs for personal gain or finance student projects. They don't promote personal, political views, religious values, or radical beliefs, or put down, reprimand, or discourage mentees. So what to expect from SIDHI, SCORE, and executive team? We ask for a lot of feedback throughout the school year. We also will be as responsive as possible to messages and requests. And we will communicate announcements and updates promptly via social media channels and email. And specifically, we send monthly newsletters that summarize our announcements for the month and also shares future events. Yeah, so as SIDHI, the program itself, we also provide resources for mentors to use throughout the school year. We have a mentorship toolkit that provides some links and ideas for how to conduct your meetings with your mentees and how to do things like choosing a project with your mentees, how to set goals, etc. Okay, so that was the end of our quick presentation. So next, I believe Isabel will interview our previous mentors, Kuya Jonas and Ate Jayan, and share their experience from the SIDHI mentorship program.
I think this is me actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thanks, Ate Alicia. So now we'll have like a sharing session with our two of our mentors from last year. We have Ate Jayan and Kuya Jonas. We prepared some questions for them, but at any point, if you have questions of your own or want to chime in the discussion, feel free to unmute or chat then. So I will pin them if that's okay. Okay. So hi, Ate Jayan and Kuya Jonas, thanks for joining us tonight and agreeing to share your experiences. So the first question is, let's start with why did you choose to be a mentor for SIDHI?
Could we get the lady to go first on this one?
I think it was around July last year when the SIDHI mentor call was released. And at that time, it was like 3 months into the pandemic. And I was just stuck with my research. I was supposed to be finishing my master's last year, but because of the pandemic, I couldn't go to the lab. So parang medyo na-discourage ako. I just needed something to like motivate me, like to continue with stuff. And then I saw this and like, okay, why not try? And then it actually helped me. Like it's a different community for me, and parang inspired din ako meeting my fellow Pinoy scientists and also the mentees na like aspiring Pinoy scientists. So I think yun yung summer spontaneous national decision, and I don't regret it. So yeah.
Well, for me, it was really out of curiosity. Because way back when we didn't have the modern version, I guess, or I call it SIDHI 2.0. It was still on its first cycle. There was just postings on Facebook, and it seemed fun because it was a science-tech thing. And back then, I was kind of frustrated that there are several things that we wanted to explain to non-scientists about principles in science that would make sense for their business or for their other organizations, for their movements. And yet, when we try to explain it to them, they seem to still get lost. So, with the announcements back then, I said, okay, let's just give it a try. And I managed to go through one cycle, the first cycle. And then when there was a reboot, there was an announcement again, and I said, okay, let's try it again. Why not?
Thanks for sharing. I guess my next question then would be, from this school year, what was a memorable experience that you can share that you had with your mentees?
Okay, can I start on this one so we can do like an alternate? Memorable experience would be when they were starting to pitch their ideas already, and they were trying to form up what they really wanted. They want to do, and then whenever they consult me, I would give them feedback based on actual experience with the materials that they were doing, and you can really see the reaction, or you can really hear the reaction whenever there was a phone, there was a Zoom, another Zoom call, a messenger call with the kids, and they said, "Oh, I learned something new to do," and that to me was already a very exciting part of the whole experience.
What about you, Ate Jay?
Memorable experience. I think at first kasi my mentees, yung final mentees ko, they weren't of the same field sa current field ko. So yung project na was on preparing a mobile app, which I don't have any experience on. So I was worried at the start, like, will I be able to help them at all? And then when mga first few meetings, they actually said na they were grateful that I was there because apparently, because for them, like yung advisor-student ratio is quite, like one research advisor is to like 50 to 100 students. So parang wala talagang nag-a-advise sa kanila. Technically, their advisor is just there to tell them what to submit, ganyan. So sabi nila, like mga December, I think sabi nila na sobrang thankful sila kasi I helped them to like set their timeline, as in parang keep nila yung plans nila and all that. So yun, I guess yun yung memorable because I really felt like, okay, I get to help them kahit wala ako masyado alam sa mobile apps and all that. So yun.
Yeah, I think from feedback from our mentees, a lot of them did say na just the guidance and like even talking about career with their mentors was very helpful for them. Yeah, and I think last school year was like difficult for all of us because the pandemic started and then the research mahirap na nga yung offline format and then they suddenly shifted to online. So how did you as mentors deal with the online format and like how did you keep communication and everything with your mentees? Start with Ate Jayan this time.
I think okay lang. We mainly use email. At first, sabi ko email and then let's see, depende how often they would ask advice from me. Kasi bi-weekly kami nag-meet. So I think okay din na nag-email na lang. Parang email na lang kami all throughout. Kasi parang it also gives them more independence so that any small hitches along the way, they don't ask me agad. So yun, I think wala namang issue. And on their part naman, nakaka-attend na rin sila. So in terms of internet issues, wala rin. So I guess swerte na lang for our case na wala kaming issues with the communication and all that.
Well, in my case, Facebook Messenger was a very good tool. We had meetings every other Friday or as necessary. So if there were problems that came up that were purely in the research sense, or to try to do a workaround on, for example, not having a laboratory, we would arrange that call, and then we would try to figure ways out on how to do it. But I did tell them in advance that because of the pandemic, I cannot be physically present with them, but I can always monitor them online.
Yeah, and kind of relating to that, what were the challenges that you faced as mentors, and I guess how did you overcome them?
Okay, the greatest challenge of the mentors are really to secure a laboratory. I mean, these kids, they're supposed to do laboratory work as required by their schools, especially if you were assigned in a regional science high school. And they can't do it simply because of the restrictions placed by the Department of Education on face-to-face interactions. So workarounds had to be made. Alternate suggestions had to be made. If we had to really contact like laboratories as far as Metro Manila, because my mentees were from like Imus, Imus Cavite, very very far from a very like a good suitable laboratory that they could work, you know, in lieu of their school labs. But you know, if I use the term sa awa naman ng Diyos, they managed to pull through with it. Um, yeah, the kids, they really made that effort. It's not really. It's not the. I called it a miracle actually when they managed to find a way.
We talked about the challenges, and I guess one last question that I have is what did you learn? What would you say was some of the most important things you learned being mentors for SIDHI?
I'll go first. I guess yung na-learn ko talaga is parang at first kasi parang na-realize ko is iba talaga yung high school research sa college and graduate research. So it was something na as a mentor, hindi ako masyado yung naging technical, but medyo nag-focus ako sa guidance lang and sa support overall. I guess yun yung na-realize ko. So parang okay, iba pala, parang paano ba? Kasi I also mentored undergrads here at UP because RA din ako. So iba din yung mentorship approach ko sa kanila sa high school. So I guess yun yung na-realize ko, like parang iba yung mentorship na kailangan ng different stages ng sa life, parang ganun. And then yun, I think yung guidance lang talaga, as in guidance lang, it's already a big help to the students. So yun lang.
You know, I agree with what Jayan said. And the thing with these kids is that they're quite eager to do everything. So something that I learned is that that portion in a research paper in high school that says scope and limitations of the study. It's something that I always tell them, you have to define that right now, because if you don't define it and then you can't do it, it will set you back days. And then you don't know if your research plan will still work. So you have to recognize your limitations, your assumptions, everything before you can really do it. It's not, high school research is not rocket science, or not even as close as undergraduate research. But no, they want to advance themselves in their knowledge. We just need to I guess temper the expectations, make it more practical for them, especially during the pandemic.
Also, if I may add to that, I think yung like my question ata about the difference ng high school, undergrad, grad research. I think kasi yung sa high school, it's more of establishing muna yung foundation. So like when they were writing, kasi medyo magulo pa, like I said, you should really you should specify kung ano talaga yung questions and you should be able to answer those. Kasi like what Sir Jonas said, yung sa scope and limitations, they can actually discuss a lot of things, tapos nakakalimutan nila na malayo na pala sa main question. Tapos yung in terms of yung yung whole process mismo, like I think kasi first time din nila. So minsan akala ko like, dapat alam na to ng mga tao, pero hindi pala. So like you really have to gauge siguro sa mentees mo din kung ano na yung alam nila or anong stage na and ano yung kailangan nila to actually help them. So yun.
I'd like to add one more then, that sometimes when they read research papers, especially academic journals, they may think one thing, but when the mentors read their resources, they will say another, because the understanding of the high school students significantly more broad, I guess, compared to us, that are more used to reading scientific articles. So, that it's simplifying things for these high school students is an important and an essential life skill, because it's also like in preparation for, for anyone who's not really the scientific community that will ask you, oh, what do you do? You need to be in that level, that similar level to those to the high school students, although they have a better understanding than the everyday person. But if you really need to navigate through the scientific terms more carefully and make it more simple for them to really understand what the essence of what they're reading are, to get to that main question, to go through everything and arrive at the answers that they really want to give.
Thanks for sharing your experiences and insights, Ate Jayan and Sir Jonas. I think at this point we can move on to the Q&A session. I'll turn it over to Ate Isabel.
Thank you so much for watching. You can now apply as a SIDHI mentor via the QR code or the link as shown in the screen until August 21st, 11:59 p.m. Philippine time. We hope to see you at SIDHI